What's better than earning money from a 9-to-5 job? It's earning money while you sleep, which is made possible if you start investing. You're listening to the Real Estate Investing Demystified with your very own dynamic duo, Ava Benesocky and August Biniaz. Tune in as we discuss everything real estate, both on the passive and active sides. We feature life-changing stories of today's real estate leaders that will help build your own roadmap to success. This is a show that will lead you to a diversified portfolio, a much bigger revenue, and a next-level venture that brings you a smooth cash flow. Let's get this episode started. All right, welcome back, August.
I know, it's been a while, right? You know, I was having a serious meeting with someone the other day. It was a business meeting, and I'm like, I haven't seen that person for a while. I'm like, hey, man, it's been a minute. He's like, in the finance world, I haven't really heard someone use that expression. I'm like, well, I'm cool like that, man.
You're cool like that.
I say it's been a minute. So it's been a minute, Ava. We took some time off from the show. We're converting our YouTube show to a podcast. So going to be on
17 different platforms.
17
so
different
we're
platforms.
We're really excited about that because not a lot of people can watch YouTube when they're driving, when they're running, when they're doing sports. So we're really excited so that people can actually listen to us while they're working out or doing anything else.
So what a great way to be back. We have our good friend and associate Marshall here, and just excited to
have a great discussion with him. Now, August, you actually had the pleasure of talking to Marshall a couple times now, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I met him in person in Columbia, South Carolina, and so I had the pleasure of meeting him in person. I'm sure that our viewers will have a lot of value added to them listening to his journey, his background, him living different places around the world, and his involvement in real estate. So it's going to be a fun, exciting show.
Absolutely. So, should I dive right in and introduce our incredible guest today?
Yes.
Okay, guys, I'm going to read off his bio here, and he's quite the man. So let me start by saying Marshall Sykes is a real estate investor and entrepreneur at heart. So having grown up in a real estate investing and development family, he is partner in 4,000 plus multifamily units and has owned single family rental properties for 23 plus years. Now, Marshall has 3 master degrees as well as 3 engineering degrees from North Carolina State University and the University of Texas at Austin and the U.S. Army War College. So in addition to being a licensed professional engineer, he had 30 plus year career in construction, project management, and facilities asset management.
Yes.
He served 24 years in the U.S. Navy Civil Engineer Corps, retiring as a captain, and had a second career at ExxonMobil Global Projects Company, where he worked on a large-scale construction projects at international locations. So he resides in Pinehurst, North Carolina, and is a full-time real estate investor and owner of Capitano Investing Group. So welcome, Marshall. Great bio, and we're happy to have you on our show today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Amazing.
Now, I know, Marshall, we just kind of mentioned a bit about your background, but if you could please go ahead and tell us in your own words a bit about your background and then your start in real estate, please.
Yeah, I think, when you look back on my life, I was thinking I would never do construction management or be in the military because my dad had a retired Army, and he decided, hey, I'm not going to go work at another company. I want to do my own thing. So him and my mom actually built single family homes after he retired from the Army, and they would build 2 homes at a time. They would keep one and sell one to live off of, basically. And in my teen years, I actually helped them build houses. And it's really hot in North Carolina where I was growing up, and it was very hard work, and maybe my mind wasn't stimulated enough, and I thought I'd never do this, but something must have sunk in because, even at night in the living room, I would hear them talk about the business and kind of get an idea of it. And fast forward 10 years after getting an engineering degree at NC State, I was in the Navy, and I thought, well, I'd like to have some kind of retirement income, some other passive income that I could rely on besides working every day. And so my wife and I decided to start investing in real estate as well. And so we ended up with a portfolio of 10 single family homes over a few short years and kept those all along the way. for maybe the next 20 years or so. But we went back and looked at the return on investment and compared it to the multifamily syndications. I was like, wow, multifamily syndications is the way to go here. And I love my single family home rentals, but multifamily just seems to step it up a notch, with all the different ways you can make money.
Absolutely. Economy of scale, right?
Yes, and we'll dive back into
Yeah.
kind of that transition from single family to multifamily and a lot of questions, but maybe we can touch on this point
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Get that
Actually,
out of the way.
I'm excited to discuss this with you, Marshall, because of your background in the military. We think it's very important to focus on this. So I'm sure our viewers and our listeners will be very interested to learn how, how your military training helped you in your business career. So I'm sure there were lessons and systems which you learned from the military, which now you use in your business life.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing on the military side is that as a young officer, the military gives you an opportunity to do a lot of big things that maybe other companies wouldn't allow you to do. So, for example, when I was first got into the military, I was in charge of 8 projects at a time normally, where I'm dealing with the contractor, where I'm having them directing them on their work activities, where if there's a change order, I'm negotiating that. I learned contracting, I learned construction management, and just business acumen, I guess, involved in all of that. And then the other part of the Navy, I also did the planning for new projects, for new facilities, or even revamping a whole base. So, for example, when I was at Camp Pendleton in Southern California, we were building up with a huge barracks program, and we had 10,000 new units that we were building, which is, barracks are similar to multifamily, very similar to them. So that part, we had a chance to build the best of breed. I was part of I led a group where we went out and looked at all the different barracks across the military in the United States and said, hey, what is the best things that the Army's doing? What are the best things that the Air Force is doing, or the Marine or Marines? And so we put all that together and what we call best of breed. And it allowed me to understand multifamily as well. It kind of gave me a hint of it, of what amenities you want in a multifamily unit or complex, and what's good for the residents.
Awesome. No, that's great. The reason we were kind of interested to learn that was because we do have a military connection as well. Both my father and grandfather were in the military, and Ava's grandfather was in the military and served in World War II. So we wanted to see how we had other military people on our show in the past. So it was interesting to kind of dive into it a bit more and see if, as far as kind of the background. In your case, you were actually, involved in construction and contracting and building within the military, and you're an engineer. So I'm sure a lot of those things you brought into your career as well.
Another thing I wanted to say,
Yes.
I'm sure the military probably provides, grueling training, and they put a lot of systems in place for their soldiers, so that probably stays with you for life. Now, I know for a fact to have a successful business, systems is everything. We always talk about this, what's the number one thing that you got to do to have a good running business, and it's really these strict systems that you put into place. So I'm sure that has done a lot for you in what you're up to now in real estate private equity.
Yes, I agree with you, Ava. The systems, I think it's kind of like, I look at it as structure. What's your business structure going to be? What are your gaps, and who can fill those gaps for you, or what system can you put in place to fill that gap or to make you successful? Because you want to be successful and you want to have an impact, whether you're in business or in the military or whatever you do in life. And that's so, yeah, I have looked at that. Not only the structure and the systems, I think the military also provides you discipline, and it makes you think outside the box. It helps you relate to people, and work as a team, because all those things make success happen in the business world as well as in the military.
Yeah, but your contractors in the civilian world, you can't court martial them for being late. Whereas,
There's a lot of levers in federal contracting that you can do, though.
great, great. All right,
I
so
like that.
But normally, you're trying to partner with the contractor. That's the best. That's the best relationship. You're partnering with people, so you have a win-win.
awesome,
Yeah,
awesome. So
right
now
on.
let's just get back to real estate and touch on that. So you start investing in real estate in single family. You have 10 single family home portfolio, I believe you mentioned. Where was this located? Was it around where you guys were living, you and your wife? So you have more kind of boots on the ground access to these homes?
And what happened was I leveraged mostly what I could do within my family because my whole family's touches real estate in some way or construction. So I leveraged my brother and my sister who both have their own real estate development companies, and so I leveraged them to do some things for me and build houses for me, and as well as we had one in so those most of those were in North Carolina. But also we had one in Texas as well, where we did live.
Awesome,
Right on. And
awesome.
then you guys managed those by yourself and rented them out and
We did a little bit. Usually we also leverage that as well because our life was as we moved around so much in the military, we moved around even more in ExxonMobil that we actually had a property manager for those, especially in North Carolina because we were a long ways away.
yeah, yeah, that's
Awesome,
right.
awesome. Yeah. So can I take that? Can I
Yeah,
steal
yeah,
that question
please
from
go
you?
for
Yeah.
it.
So
Go
let's
for
talk
it.
about your transition from single family to multifamily. You talked about the syndication model. When I was in real estate for contracting and development for well over 10 years before I even learned there was a possibility of raising capital. This concept of private equity or syndication. I was syndicating deals before even knowing what syndication was. But when I realized there's actually systems and processes and there's a whole industry around raising capital and doing deals both on the institution and retail levels, I fell in love with it, and now I've dedicated really my life to this business. When was that turning point for you? Was it the turning point for me was a need. I had a great project that came. I put it under contract. It was a ground up development project. I didn't have the equity to close on it. I went to a few investors, and we literally incorporated a company. We put shareholder agreements in place. So it wasn't a GPLP structure. So it was out of a need that I learned about this business, and I got involved in it. And then I wanted to grow and scale. And then I realized there's US real estate, and I fell in love with that, and I co-founded CPI Capital. But with you, talk to us about when was that moment that you realized this business model even existed? And then what was your involvement in it initially? And then for it to intrigue you and excite you enough for you to literally get involved in this business and switch careers. So talk to us about that whole journey because you touched on it briefly, but I want to kind of go into it much deeper, please.
When I was at Camp Pendleton building all those barracks, I thought, and then I got out of the Navy a few short years later. I thought I always wanted, I want to do multifamily. That's what I want to do. It was big in Southern California at the time, but I always thought, hey, I can't do that. I'm not just the person. I can't own those myself. Those are big corporations that own them. So I went into the oil and gas business. Was overseas in Canada and in the Middle East for 5 years or so. And during that time, I started looking at my portfolio in single family. I thought, well, the return on investment is not as good as or to change this. And then we moved back to Houston in 2018. And that's when I first started hearing about these syndications. I had never even heard of syndications. I kind of missed the boat on it for a while there. I had a phone call, or somebody reached out to me through LinkedIn, and we had a phone call. And I thought, God, these returns are too good to be true. Because I understood returns from real estate. I thought, there's no way these returns are that good. So I did not initially invest in that deal that this person reached out to me for, but I did my homework at that point. I got involved. I learned off of YouTube. I read books, and I thought, well, this is what I want to do. I really do. So I started an LP investing into multifamily. My first few were LP investments, passive investments, limited partner. And then I thought, right, I kind of like this. I want to be a general partner. So that's when I decided, hey, 3 years ago, I decided, hey, I want to be a general partner and started transitioning into it.
Amazing, amazing.
Good for you. And then I can't wait to talk about you becoming a general partner because you have obviously there's capital raising that's involved with that, and asset management. I believe you're really good at too. So let's discuss a little bit about capital raising, because that's my favorite topic to discuss. So,
if I may quickly just interject, so I just want to go break it down for our audience that might not understand the real estate private equity space, or the kind of the multifamily or any type of asset class. So you're involved in commercial real estate. Commercial real estate is really an umbrella of different asset classes. You have multifamily, you have built to rent single family, you have industrial, you have hospitality, office space. These are all different asset classes, and investment firms focus on different asset classes, whatever asset class is their focus. So we're talking about multifamily asset class within the commercial real estate space, and then syndicating these projects, which is raising capital to buy the project from passive retail investors. It could be institutional as well. Blackstone and other large firms raise capital from institutions like pension funds and university endowments to buy their properties. We raise capital from retail investors. But for a fully operational company, you got really three main components for a real estate investment firm utilizing the syndication model. You got the equity, capital raising, investor relations. You got the acquisitions, which is sourcing the deal, underwriting, the purchasing of the asset, and then you got the asset management, which is executing the business model if there's renovations involved or upgrades, or overseeing the property manager. So as a general partner getting involved in this business, depending on your expertise and your background and your knowledge, you can get involved in either one or some of these facets of the business. So Marshall is involved in investor relations, capital raising, and also asset management. So if you want to kind of dive more into the capital raising initially, and we can touch a bit on asset management as well. But so now you end up in a space, you want to be a GP, you realize, hey, I can go and raise capital. What's the first step you took?
What's the first
did you
step
get on
you
a
took?
call?
And who did you?
I called my mom. My mom has been investing with me for over 10 years. So that's what I did. But go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, Marshall, please.
Well, what happened was that we actually had a little mastermind group we would meet once a month at ExxonMobil, and we would just meet for lunch, and talk about investments. And a couple of us decided, hey, we're going to take the next step and join a coaching group and be in a general partnership. So that's what we did. I think the easiest step to make in being a new partner in a multifamily deal is in the capital raising stage. When I first joined the group, I thought, I'm not going to do that. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, that's not a bad way to start, because you can learn from other people. You can learn as you go through the process a little bit more, and it's not as difficult, I think, for me, because my network was pretty extensive through LinkedIn and just being in the military 25 years and then ExxonMobil for a while. So I had a very extensive network. I've been around a lot of people, and I like the network, and I thought, that's not a bad way to do it. So I did call my friends and family. That's kind of what you start off with. I have some of them have invested with me, and you have
7 siblings, right?
I do have 7 siblings.
So you had a lot of calls to make. So go ahead, man.
Yes, and so I've had a few of them invest with me as well. Yeah, I mean, you can always make more calls. It's just there's a lot of people in your network if you start thinking about people.
Yeah, for sure. Marshall, now I'm curious. So, you've invested as an LP. So when you made those calls, what response did you get from people right off the bat?
I usually try to talk to the people that are interested in real estate investing. And if you're interested in real estate investing, it's much easier conversation. If you have never invested in real estate, or if you've invested in it and it went bad, it's a harder conversation. It really is. But I think just if somebody's interested in real estate, they've already done it in the past. The syndication model just kind of makes sense more to them, and it's better than probably they can do on their own, or less work than they can do on their own. So the general partners do all the work, and the limited partners provide the money. So it's a win-win for them.
Yeah, it's really a no-brainer. And then you got the tax benefits that are involved when you're a passive investor in these multifamily syndications, which is really exciting when you put that in front of an investor who's just kind of heard about syndication for the first time, or investing as a limited partner. that really seals the deal.
Particularly for U.S. investors, there's unbelievable tax savings.
Unbelievable.
But not so much for Canadians. But there's some. I think we have like 2% or 4% depreciation that they could use annually.
But I'm curious, Marshall, just because I here at CPI Capital, I'm head of investor relations. So, I speak to all the investors that call into our company. They all have my personal cell phone numbers. It's getting a little hard to keep up, but I'm really enjoying it because we want to have that investor experience, right? We want to have this white glove treatment that we give to
you invest
everybody.
in the equities, you invest in the stock market or other large funds or REITs. You're just another number. In this business, you actually say, hey, make your case to me. Why do you like this deal? And your name, reputation, your whole life is on a deal that you present to your investors. So it's much more intimate, is much more, there's a lot of more emotion is involved. And things go up, down. You get calls from investors. We have investor dinners. But keep going with your I just wanted to
make that point. No, it's a very important point. But I'm curious. So you reach out to your network, you reach out to your family, your 7 siblings as well, and then what else do you do to bring people into the funnel?
Because I'll tell you one of his secrets that I know about, which is one of your secrets as well. Is LinkedIn. Both of you are very active on LinkedIn, but he can keep going. Keep going.
Very good. Yeah, LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely LinkedIn. I think even if people don't directly reach out to you, I found out that they kind of monitor what you're putting on LinkedIn over the months, right? So, and then they might reach out to you 6 months or a year later. It's kind of interesting, but they follow what you're doing. They want to see, is it real or are you a flash in the pan? So that's kind of where getting a sustained presence out there does make a difference.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where I'm trying to go. I mean, I think I do a little bit of that, but I think I could improve a lot more.
Something that just came to mind.
Yes.
You were captain in the military, right? So have you ever gone to the military base to do presentations at the military base for others?
That's one of my goals, definitely. Okay. I'm looking to go to one in a couple of them here over the next few months. Yeah, I'm planning on doing that.
That's what you should do, and then put it up on a big screen, the returns that you've made, and you're like, guys, this is proof in the pudding.
Yes,
right here.
Yes, and Marshall and I had a meeting about that. We were talking about different strategies we utilize to connect with investors. So we're gonna brainstorm and we're gonna take over the world.
Take over the world.
Let me see a few other things I want to touch on, and I think it's important to do so. Now, this is about. Initially when we started at CPI Capital, so much of our focus was on the capital raising, investor relations, the compliance side of it, the accounting structure, because we had investors from Canada investing in our U.S. investments. So a lot of our time and resources was spent on that side of thing, the equity side. We weren't really, we were overextending ourselves to get involved in acquisitions and asset management. So we partnered with other groups who were mainly we were involved in those aspects as well, but they were mainly involved in asset management and acquisitions. Now, your business model is similar to that, where you co-GP and you partner with other groups. Talk to us about a vetting process that you put these groups through. And for end user, for the investor who partners with us, the partners that we partner with, they vet hundreds of deals before they put a deal under contract. And then we're sitting back and we have multiple partners. So we look at these deals that are being provided to us from these multiple partners. So the deals are literally going through this funnel. By the time they get to us and they get to our investors' hands, these must be great deals because they've gone through so many different checks and balances. So talk to us, is this a strategy you utilize, and what is the vetting process? What is your experience, putting your name and reputation on the line to partner with someone else who'll be managing majority of the activities? Talk to us about, your journey there.
Yeah, sure. I think that's a very important point because you, as a part of your investor relations role, is to vet what investments you want to present to investors, right? And so that's what we're really getting at here. One of the things I felt like to make it easier or to make it more disciplined for me is to join that coaching group. And I use it, the term coaching is a little bit loose, but it's more of a group of like-minded investors who want to partner with each other. And that in itself is one vetting process because they've already did their hurdle to join the group. And that group has the structure in place with the same attorney that we have on every deal. So he does a lot of the vetting piece for us as well. We have the same person, same group of people or a board that's overlooking these investments to say, hey, is this one okay, or is there some flaws in this investment that we don't, this underwriting that we have analyzed, is it going to work or not, basically. So those are some of the vetting pieces of it. But then then I started thinking, you really have to go with the lead partners that are mostly running the day-to-day on this deal. They have to have business acumen, as we talked about before. They have to have some kind of structure, maybe a finance background or a construction background, something where they can actually do the asset management piece on these partners, because you don't want to just get it to where you close on the property, you own the property. That's one piece of vetting. The second piece of it is the asset management. Can they manage it? Can they work with the contractors to get the work done? Can they stay on the task for the business plan and execute the business plan? Because that's where you're going to make the money for the investors. And so I have looked at that vetting as well. You want to have the right partners, have they done business in the past? Have they done multifamily? Are they able to relate to people and get the work done?
That's fantastic. Marshall, you said something there, and you said that you're in this kind of coaching group where it's a bunch of individuals that take a look at the deal and they all have their eyes on it. I was just reading Steve Schwartzman's new book, and he was saying that his whole team gets in a room and his analysts, they all review the deal and they all come back and they say, okay, we found this, but it's so great to have more than one set of eyes on these deals before taking it down. So that
was after the deal blew up in their face,
yeah,
where an analyst who was overseeing the deal didn't like the deal, didn't like the numbers, but the fellow who was presenting the project to the higher ups really loved the deal, and it kind of suppressed what the analyst was saying.
Yeah.
And the decision Steve Schwartzman made was that everyone involved in the deal needs to come into a room, and everybody can express their opinion about the deal. So yeah, I mean, as far as co-GPing, is it open communications that everybody get together, dissect the deal, and also as far as any next big steps that you're taking on the project, is it a kind of a open board meeting type of things that you guys have? Maybe you can touch on that with us.
Well, so the leads will go out and find a deal and underwrite them and decide, hey, is it worth pursuing or not? And usually they're going to look at 50 deals to get one, or 50 to 100 deals just to get one that works for them. And then they bring that to the board, and the board kind of gives it a second view or third view of underwriting, make sure it's working. But then after that, if it all works there, then they come find guys like me who are going to raise capital for them and do other things for them. But I'm going to look at it. I've looked at what my criteria are. Is it going to meet my criteria? Does it do that or not? I'll ask questions and probe it to make sure it's sound for my investors. And so that's the next step I take on that.
Nice. You really believe in the deal, of course, before you present it to your network. Awesome, Marshall.
Great. Awesome. I think that we got as much as we could get out of Marshall over here. But
really
we're going to transition to the next part of our show, which
is 10 championship rounds to financial freedom. So we're going to ask you some questions, whatever comes top of mind, just fire it off at us. And we're really looking forward to getting to learn a little bit more about you. So the first question, Marshall, is who was the most influential person in your life?
That's very good. I think my wife is. Her name's Cindy, and
everybody's wife is there. Like everybody is scared
because you're the closest to them. I mean, it could be a lot of people, but my wife is, because she knows me. We have coffee every morning. We talk about things, and so it's my sounding board, and she kind of helps me kind of figure out myself and my day each day.
That's beautiful. I love that. Who's the most influential person in your life?
My wife. I swear, I work for her too. So
that's what I thought.
Okay,
That's awesome, Marshall. And her name's Cindy?
Cindy, yes.
Okay, wonderful. I'll probably meet her one day. Next question. What is the #1 book you'd recommend?
I'm going to get off I'm not going to be on the real estate side on this one.
Okay.
I read this book called Halftime by Bob Buford. And he was I think a cable company guy that owned a lot of, he worked really hard for his first 25 years of his career and made a lot of money. And then he decided, hey, I want to do something different. I don't want to be just successful. I want to have a life of significance. And so he turned it around and focused on significance in his second half. That's what that halftime's all about. It's kind of figuring out what you want to do the rest of your life.
Nice. Eager to read that book.
Yeah, same. All right, Marshall, if you had the opportunity to travel back in time, what advice would you give your younger self?
Probably to start real estate even earlier, have my dad help me buy my first house before I'm 18 even, or 18 or 20,
That's
wherever I can manage it at that point.
Common answer we get.
Yeah, and you're so blessed that you had your family in real estate too, so you can kind of learn from that at a younger age. That's amazing. All right, now, what is the best investment you've ever made?
I think as far as you mean a real estate investment?
Or anything.
Anything in life. Anything. Very broad. Best investment you've ever made.
I'm going to go with putting myself through college. Okay. My dad I was one of 8 kids. And so we didn't have a lot of money, and I paid my own way to college. So I went to NC State in engineering school. It was a hard thing to do, but I made that investment in myself. I think a lot of people today think that college is overrated, and maybe in certain fields, maybe it is, where they don't make a lot of money once they get out of college. But I don't think it's about the money in college. It's a matter of your mindset and how you're going to think in the future. And when I first was going to college, I think my brother was a little older than me, and I asked him why he goes to college. I think I was a teenager at the time, maybe still in my teens, but he said, I'll go to college to learn how to think. And I thought, that's stupid. Why don't you go to school to get a job? But, when I think back on it now, he was right all along, to learn how to think.
Yeah, I love that so much. I always tell people, I never went to college. I got right into my real estate career at a very young age. And I always tell people, when they ask me about my schooling, I say that. And I say, my God, I wish I would have went to college, because you learn how to learn. It really saves you a lot of future pain if you go to college, and exactly what your brother said. So good.
And it doesn't have to be college itself. It could be a trade school. It could be in the military. But you're learning how to think and learning how to apply your life to the world.
Absolutely. All right, Marshall. Now let's switch the gears here. What's the worst investment you've ever made, and what lessons did you learn from it?
There's one interesting. My third multifamily passive investment deal, I didn't look at the cash flow projections, and they are quite low compared to the general industry, I should say. Instead of 8% or 6 to 8% cash on cash flow, they were planning on 4% or 3 to 4%. And I went back and analyzed my deals, and I thought, why did I ever do this one? But, thinking on that one, I didn't do it for the cash flow on that one, because there's so many different ways you make money on these multifamily deals. That one was more about an appreciation play. It was Austin, Texas, right before they bought it in March 2020, right when the pandemic hit. And it actually, because everybody's moving to Austin nowadays, it seems like that's actually going to do really well on the appreciation side. The cash flow side, not so much.
Okay. All right. Okay, next question. How much would you need in the bank to retire today? What's your number?
That's a trick question.
You have to think here.
It is, yeah. Well, go ahead.
So, I don't know how I thought of this, but I guess probably because you're growing up in the real estate family, but I always wanted more than one source of income. Passive income really is the best way. But so that's what I've always thought through that's why I wanted 10 rentals and my military pay, retirement pay. And I thought those are a lot of different sources of income. That's really what I'm looking at, is having sources of income that can sustain you through life. It's not really what's in the bank, but what's coming in every month. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great answer there.
Yes.
Okay. If you could have dinner with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
If I could have dinner with somebody dead or alive.
A lot of options there, Marshall. A lot of options.
Yeah, there's a lot of options. So you're about to stump me on that one. Um, I would, okay. My dad died 9 years ago. I would have dinner with him again. That would be awesome. I ask him every little thing about real estate that he learned and other things.
That's beautiful.
Awesome.
Wonderful, Marshall. Okay, if you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing now?
I think I'd probably be working overseas as an expat in the oil and gas business if I wasn't doing full-time real estate investing.
Okay, all right. My favorite question, book smarts or street smarts?
Oh my goodness. And I think I learn by doing, but I also learn by the books. I'm probably 50-50 on that one.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question. If you had $1 million cash and you had to make one investment today, what would it be?
I would definitely invest in one of the deals that I'm raising for. in multifamily deals, yes.
$1 million,
Nice.
$1 million cash flow is that's going to
Yeah,
be a
the
pretty
cash
nice
flow on the
month-
8% cash flow on that is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And you got the appreciation and the preferred returns. So amazing.
Amazing,
Awesome.
Marshall.
That's
last
it.
last
That's a wrap.
question.
Oh.
What is the best way people can reach you?
I think the best way to reach out to me is on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm pretty active on that, and I like to get messages from folks and meet new people.
Right on, Marshall. Thanks so much for coming on our show today.
Yeah,
Really,
man.
I loved getting to know you more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
Thanks for
great.
coming on. Really had pleasure and talking with you a few times. I'm sure we're going to collaborate and be friends for a long time coming. So thank you. Thank you
We'll
again
take
for
you
coming.
and Cindy out for dinner when we're
Definitely. Thank you for having me. It was great to see you both again.
awesome. Thank you for joining us for this episode. We hope this conversation enlightened you on how to win big in this highly profitable and risk-averse space. Get on your feet and embrace this world that offers so many opportunities just waiting for you out there. Continue your journey to becoming a savvy real estate expert by subscribing to the show at cpicapital.ca. Don't forget to leave a positive rating and share with your friends. See you on the next one.